Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid Radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Well, happy Tuesday evening, folks. This is Scotty Roberts. I am the host of this here, my show, right here on my YouTube channel and also on the Odyssey Radio Network. That's ODYSY1.com. Go on over, see all the goodness that's Odyssey Radio. You can take a look at their schedule, see their entire lineup of shows, and find out where this show plays in its rebroadcasts throughout the day over on that channel. And, of course, we're not broadcasting there live tonight. That's something I want to reiterate until we get ourselves up to broadcasting both live there and here. If you remember the old mode, I would pre-record the show in audio and also video, and then we'd play them both at the same time. Well, I love doing the live broadcasting so much over here on YouTube, I have got to get my tech up to snuff to be able to broadcast to both the live stream and over to the radio station. But you can go over there. Russ, the owner of Odyssey Radio, is playing through our 500-some archived shows over there. So you'll never know. It's a grab bag. You'll never know what you'll see every day over there. But here, you catch us live over on youtube.com/Mr. Scotty Roberts. It's that easy to find this show. And so we've also got the chat room going. I'm pointing that way because it's over there on my screen for you, wherever it shows up. So the chat room is starting to be inhabited by brother and sister Intrepids. I want to welcome you all to the show tonight. It's nice going live because I can say, hey, Master Finn, good to see you over there tonight. Steve Clark, glad that you made it in. Corey Blake, good to see you, brother. I always like seeing you over there in the chat room, so it's good to see you. I hope things are going well for you. Alan Stiles, good to see you. Michelle Cunham McFree, good to see you as well. Always a pleasure to have you here. And Iowa X, this is always live. We've been live for about 5 months now. Since I went down to Louisiana. Stranger in a Strange Land, broadcasting from the makeshift studio down in Louisiana. And because we couldn't broadcast to the network at the time, we started doing all the live broadcasts here on YouTube. And so we've been going live broadcast every day since about the end of January, beginning of February of this year. February, March, April, May, June, July. So roughly 6 months. And so 5.5 or so. And one of these days, very soon, hopefully, it might not happen before we make the big move, but we'll get it all set up so we're broadcasting live to both Odyssey Radio and to the stream over on YouTube. And there, I think I beat that dead horse. And Corey Blake says, losing my dog tonight, being put down and super broke up over it. The dog has been my soulmate. Damn it, Corey, I'm sorry to hear that. That's a tough thing to have to go through. I have many friends who have lost their pets. You almost don't want to say the word pet because to some people it's a lot more than that. I've never been one to go so far as to say, it's one of my fur children. I don't do that because I've got flesh and blood children, but I know to a lot of people that's a very deep connection, a very deep love, and it's a wound when that happens. And so I feel for you, brother. Let's see. And I also, something I've been meaning to bring up many times, and I think of it every time I put the announcement up for this show because I see his name come up in the tagging, is Shawnee Mon Ami, who has been here in the chat room many, many times. Listener to this show. He lost his mother not long ago. And I never did make a public acknowledgement of that because I get into the show and then I forget about it. And so, Corey, in a way, you reminded me of that. And so my heart goes out to Shawnee and all of you out there. There's a lot of people here that have suffered loss and grief. And my heart goes out to you. And I hope you find a nice place of solace here with everybody over here in the chat room. Not only are you watching what is a radio show and a internet podcast and a YouTube podcasting stream, but I think we've got a pretty tight-knit family of people that like to come in here, and many of them care about each other. And so that's pretty cool. Now, there's a small handful of those. Now, if you're just sitting out in the wings and you see the chat room, you don't have to join on that kind of a level with everybody here. You can just watch. You can participate from a distance. You can listen. You can even come in and say, hey, if you want to. You don't have to fear losing any kind of anonymity, if you will. So just come on over and enjoy it. But if you hang out with these people enough, you're going to find a very close-knit group of people. And I want to say hey to Kevin Miller. Good to see you, brother. Durwood, nice to see you here tonight. And as people keep coming in, I'll say hi as I see you, but there's got to be a point where I stop the greetings and move on with the show. And Doug Stack, I see you over there. Good to see you, brother. Hope the business is running well. You're in your second week. I think it's the second week. Might even be the beginning of the third week. And so I hope everything's going well for you there. I get it. Field Guy, good to see you. Just woke up from a nap. Nice to see you, brother. Let's do one of these because we haven't done it for a long time. This Spark Courage. This is this little faux matchbox that I picked up at a garage sale for like a quarter a year or more ago. And I think we've been through most of these, but they have these faux matchsticks on the inside, and each one has a little message on it. And it's called Spark Courage, and it's 50 ways to be bold is what it says here. And on the back, it says, discover your inner bravery. Within this book of 50 faux matchsticks, featuring prompts that inspire you to take leaps. I'm sorry, I got to put on the cheaters. Sitting here, I'm doing the old man thing. So they inspires you to take leaps, face your fears, and speak your mind. And so I got into the habit a while back, as some of you know, of just pulling one of these every night randomly and seeing what we come up with. So, and let's see if we can talk about it for a couple of minutes. So let's open this up and we'll just root around in here and let's just grab one and see. It's either one we've had before or it's one we haven't covered before. Let's see what it says. Here we go. Here's what I've drawn out. Let's see. Is that upside down? Can we read it? It's backwards on my screen. So, no, it's just upside down on my screen. There we go. All right. Give a friend a pep talk and then have him or her return the favor. Now, this is supposed to be a way that you can build your own courage, ignite your own spark of courage, so to speak, and talk to people. Put yourself out there. And so if you're not used to talking to people or not used to doing things like this, it's a great way to do this. Give yourself a pep talk. Give a good friend a pep talk, and then have them do that for you. You know, they say, I've quoted the fish philosophy here many times. It's that philosophy that was used for business, but you can use it in daily life. And there were those 4 or 5 different cornerstones of the fish philosophy. It started in the Pike Place Fish Market, was where they started this 15 to 20 years ago. And it's a way to motivate people, to keep people's energy up, to have people take a look at who they really are, to eschew, if you will, negativity and toxicity. And it's that whole idea of, it's like, let's say you got a job you have to go to, and it's just a job. It's drudgery. It's Monday morning. Or worse, it's Saturday morning and I got to work the weekend shifts or whatever. And it doesn't pay that much and it doesn't do much for you. But this was a philosophy that was put into place to try to keep you motivated and positive about yourself while you're maybe doing things you don't always want to do. And so in these 5 things, one of them was be present or be there, meaning be in your moment. We could take that philosophy and expand it like we have in the past on this show and talk about being awake, not woke. Woke is stupid. Woke is nonsensical political palaver, if you ask me, the woke movement. I'm talking about being awake. That's something very different than being woke. Are you awake? Are you aware? Are you aware that you are awake? Be there. Be in your moment. Be in the present. Another one of them was to, I didn't want to get to the one I wanted to hit on specifically for this point before I hit some of these other ones. But the other one was, oh, darn it, if I can't remember them now off the top of my head. But the one I wanted to hit for tonight, for this thing that comes to my mind, is make someone else's day. Have you gone out into your day and said, I'm going to make somebody's day? It doesn't take much to make someone's day. Now, you have to be careful nowadays, because you could say to, somebody of the opposite sex, hey, you look good today. They could take that the wrong way. So you got to choose your words wisely and all of that. But how do you make somebody's day without putting yourself out too much? You give them a little pep talk. Hey, great job on that thing you did, or great job for this or that. And it doesn't all have to relate to work-related stuff. It could just be in your day-to-day stuff. So making somebody's day, give somebody a pep talk, encourage them in their day, encourage them with the things they do. I look at somebody like Doug Stack, who's out there in the chat room. When I see Doug come up, I want to say, hey, Doug, how's the business going? I hope it's going well for you. And you know what? I mean that from my heart. But I want to help in a small way make Doug's day. Or anybody else that's out there. What's going on? Can I make your day? And you know what that does for you? It builds you up too. When instead of my kids bicker at each other all the time. They're always fighting and bickering about stuff. They're kids, siblings. And I said, why don't you spend a little bit of energy? Just happened just today. Unknowing this was going to pop up. But I said, why don't you guys work at being nice to each other and helping each other? And you, my son Flynn, let your sisters know you are their hero. You're their big brother. Pass that on to them. So instead of criticizing your 6-year-old sister, why don't you encourage your 6-year-old sister? Make someone's day. And so I see there's chat going on over there about this. I'm just trying to see where I can click into some things here. Why did you block me on Twitter? We don't have to get into those kinds of conversations here. If there's something where I'm going to encourage you, this is slightly off the topic. I'm going to encourage anybody who's in the chat room and you're making public statements and public posts. Let me encourage you to be honest, truthful, forthright, but don't bring up topics that should be kept in private. Private topics are for private conversations. They're not for public conversations. Putting people on the spot or talking about things that, you hurt my feelings way back. Don't talk about that in the chat room. Talk about uplifting and positive things. Are we not all big enough, smart enough, and damn it, adult enough to enter into public situations? Sorry, my light just kind of slid down the pole there. Sorry about that. Are we not big enough to save things that should be private for private conversations? Let's do that. I'm not chewing you out, Durwood, or anybody else in there that's saying anything. If you got something negative to say, if it's pertinent to the topic, if it's pertinent to the group, if it's pertinent, then by all means talk about it. And so everybody can talk about it. If it's something that's a personal thing, take it personal. And then be big enough to say, I might have this personal thing, but I'm going to build you up. Do you know I have had people that have attempted to offend me or have attempted to insult me? Well, they've insulted me. They've done what they think is offending me. But at the same time, I try to turn around, and when I see them in public, I try to build them up. I try to encourage people to see this person for who they really are. Not because I got a gripe with them, but because I want to build them up. Do you know if you feel a personal affront from somebody? Why dwell on it? Why make that the topic that you want to talk about? Why not make the topic how you can build somebody else up, despite the fact that you might feel slighted about something? Hold on, I got a bracket that came loose back here, or something on my computer. Hold on a second, folks. I'm going to keep talking, but I got to go around to the other side of the computer because I've got a little bracket that came loose here, and it's gonna fight me all night if I don't fix it. There we go. All right, sorry about that. It is now fixed. So, little loose screw back there, not just up here. And so there it is. Be cool. What was it? Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Be cool to each other, or whatever they said. So that's what we need to do here. And I encourage you to do that here in this chat room because my moderators can watch it a little closer than I can when I'm talking. But if it gets out of hand, if it's not something that's kept in check, you'll probably be asked to leave or be timed out for a little bit. And I hate to put that business out there to the public, but I want this place to be a place where you can come, you can be honest, you can talk about stuff, but if it's a personal one-on-one thing, make it personal and one-on-one, and take it personal and one-on-one, not in the public chat room. That's not what social media is for. So, this is all for us to get together and talk about this stuff. So, pep talk somebody else. Build somebody else up. Do you know what I once heard? This just pops in my mind, so it's probably worth saying. I heard a definition once of forgiveness. Forgiveness is me giving up my right to hurt you for hurting me. And so if you feel offended by somebody, so what? This is why I say, you can't offend me. You know why? You might surprise me with something, and I might go, what the hell was that? What'd you say that for? But you know why I say I can't be offended? Because being offended is a choice I make. If I work to offend you, that's a choice I'm making, is to offend you or to draw attention to something I'm displeased about with you. So everybody else around me knows I'm displeased with you. But being offended on myself is something I take on and I appropriate. You know why I can't be offended? Because I don't appropriate the offense. It's like what we used to say, water off a duck's back. So offense, all this stuff in the political arena too, you can apply it to that. All this other, everybody's offended about something. I'm so offended. Racially offended, politically offended, communally offended, whatever it is. You know what? Nobody can be offended if nobody takes on the offense and appropriates it. It's like, hey, whoever's trying to offend me, you got your opinion. You're welcome to it. I'm moving beyond that. You can't offend me because I don't care. So there it is. All right. So let's keep things that way and pep talk each other. For God's sake, life is too damn short. Why do we always want to find problems? There always has to be a problem to talk to somebody. We always got to point something out or gossip about this or talk about that. Stop! It doesn't do any of us any good. And so there you go. Be positive. Make somebody's day. Be there. Be aware. Know who you are. Being in the present. That's what you got to do. That's what we all need to do. So let's do that and let's move on. Hey, Delaney Pearl Jones. Good to see you. Them types need an X-lax because they're so full of a poo emoji. So says Delaney. And them types. So, hey, Barbie D, good to see you. I'm glad you're in here. And I didn't mean to. Sorry, Durwood, don't be offended. I didn't mean to point. I just saw that you brought up something that was personal. Take it personal. Everybody in the chat room saw it. We already know it. Just take it personal. And go message. You guys get on the phone and have a nice little chat together if you need to. So other than that, leave it off the chat room. But there it is. And I don't care to see it. And I don't think anybody else really needs to either. All it does is create drama. Who the hell needs drama? No drama. Drama-free zone, please. All right. That all came from Spark Courage. Let's move on from that. Tonight, I wanted to talk about something that is very near and dear to my heart, and you know it by many of the other topics we've talked about on this show. And there is this whole thing about, you know me, I've been a student of religion most of my life. I started off in my early days, Bible college, seminary, ministry. I was in youth ministry. I did all that, music ministry, all of that stuff. I did all of those things over the years. I drifted away from that stuff because I had questions. And we all know this. I've talked, if you're a regular listener to the show, you've heard that before. So one thing that I've noticed in the recent days, 21st century meaning, and I can talk this way now. I've got a little age beneath my belt, along with a roll of fat to accompany it, that struggles with me and fights me. But one of the things I've noticed in the 21st century is the blending of things that were once separated into distinct categories, from family to music or ethnicity to religion. Boundaries are being crossed like we've never seen them before. Now, is this a thing where in my old theological circles we would have been taught that you've got to stay the line and toe the line and hold on to what you know is the truth of the gospel and so on, and however we wanted to state that in the particular religious belief I was in, and anything else was wrong. But the more studying I'm doing and the more research I do, the more we talk on this show, all of this, I find that there are, on one hand, there are things there are gaps in some of the faith issues I had. And then there are other faiths that come up that are supposed to have been things that we were always antagonistic to the faith that I held. And so my idea is that I hope that we can explore some ways in which, in a sense, two religions, and I'm choosing two that are very big out there, and two because they're my stuff personally. Christianity, paganism. Are these two things? We've talked about these topics in the past, but let's update it a little bit. Let's pull in. Is there compatibility here when it's seemingly they're very incompatible on a faith level? But I'm finding that there's a blending and there's a looking to blend. Is that stuff of the devil? Is that the devil's workshop? Is that the devil trying to distract us from the real God? Or the other way around? And so we have to look at different ways of thinking that are usually considered anathema to each other, that can actually be blended into a way that can provide really deep spiritual meaning and guidance to anybody who wants to be a practitioner of them. And I'm hoping that this kind of opens some doors. I want to spend a little bit of time on this, meaning more than just one night. I want to talk about these things. I want to talk about Christopaganism specifically, only because they're two things that I found myself very drawn to. Remember when I talked about the fairy realm and I said you could attract the fae, and how to do it? You would go out to the woods, you'd find that place that speaks to you, and you'd sit and you'd just soak it in, and you could attract things that way. Or look at the way you're drawn to certain musics and things like that, and how that it attracts. It's the things that draw you in. Hey, Rainey, fresh from a scout meeting.
Scotty.
Hey, guys, I'm going to break into this because my wife is here, and she's going to make a little announcement of sorts here tonight.
No, I wasn't going to make an announcement.
Oh, you weren't going to announce it?
No.
What do you got there in your hands?
I got cotton candy.
Cotton candy?
Taste it.
No, it's too sugary for me.
Just a little taste.
Okay. It gets stuck in my facial hair and stuff. And, oh, it's this one.
Yeah, it's different. Taste that one.
Kind of melts in your mouth. It's cotton candy. You know what cotton candy is? It's basically spun sugar. It's pure sugar, sometimes with flavor put in. Well, what do you got cotton candy for?
Because I like cotton candy.
Duh. Up here. Duh. Silly me. Well, is there anything you want to tell us about cotton candy?
Not yet.
Your involvement with cotton candy?
I don't know. Has my husband done my logo yet?
I don't know. Let me check in with him.
You should.
You know, I do require a down payment.
Yeah, cotton candy.
I'm diabetic. Please.
You're
No
supposed to be able.
candy.
You're supposed to be able to use sugar-free candies too.
Oh, that's cool.
This is lemon. The lemon drops.
Okay.
I don't like.
I was going to say that wasn't just pure sugar. Hi, Ellie. Nice to see you.
This one is root beer
Did you guys have
barrels.
a good meeting with Mom? Rainey just came from scout meetings. And there's something, she maybe we'll save it for Sunday or whenever she's going to be gone.
I'll be gone on Sunday at
She's
camp.
got to go to camp with the little one
and then
for
I
a
come
few
home
days.
for a day, and then I go to Alaska.
That's right, Alaska. And so I got to do your tattoo too before that.
Mhm.
So I saw Rainey come in. She's just in from a scout meeting, and she's got cotton candy, which there's a big announcement to come. Oh, pineapple and pizza flavored cotton candy. Is that what you're saying, Iowa X?
I don't know about pizza, but
I
pineapple.
love pineapple on pizza. That's real world stuff right
And
there.
I see everybody saying hi. Hi, everybody.
So, I knew I sensed a disturbance in the force, said Field Guy. It's cotton candy. So, a little child back there. So, I saw her walk in with the cotton candy, and I thought she was going to make an announcement.
No,
But
not yet.
There's
I'm
no
not ready
announcement
yet.
to make.
Cotton candy.
Cotton candy. All right. Well, nice. All right.
It turns your tongue-
No.
tongue
No thanks.
Mom,
Here
we
we-
put Mom?
What?
Can we put Doritos in the cotton candy machine?
Doritos do not
Dorito
work
flavored
in the
cotton
cotton
candy.
candy machine.
All right, guys.
Yeah,
So,
can
hey, Scott Allen. Good to see you.
we?
All right.
All right, I'll let you go back to your radio show.
I'm going to go back to my radio show.
I was just excited because the gas station had root beer barrels and lemon drops. So
Oh, so you put root beer barrels and lemon drops into
cotton candy machine.
cotton candy machine.
into your coffee.
You got a
crusher.
cotton candy machine?
I got a cotton candy machine.
She got a cotton candy machine. But there's more to this story, news at 11, or whenever we get a chance she wants to announce it. So, she was out there making stuff to put into this cotton candy machine. And she's grinding up root beer barrels or whatever.
Jolly Ranchers before I left. And
I go, oh,
Dum
that's
Dums.
cool. And she goes, oh, I borrowed your coffee grinder. Because, every morning I make a pot of French press. And you've got to grind your beans. And so I think tomorrow morning, hopefully my coffee won't taste like
Root beer and lemon.
root beer and lemon. So Well,
Where there's originals tomorrow. We're going to try that.
there you go. Well, I'll let you go cotton candy yourself into oblivion.
Yeah.
And I'll see you in a little while.
Rainey is out to give us tooth decay and diabetes.
That's pretty much it.
Yes.
Pretty much it.
Yep.
So
once I get this all figured out, I like to smush it together. I don't really like to eat too much cotton candy because I don't want tooth
you should have
decay.
seen her. We were all out today doing some things, getting some art supplies, getting some different things. And shh over there, shush. And we drove up to our driveway, and there's 2 huge boxes. Should have seen her. She was like yippee skippy, hopping around like a little kid because her boxes came.
99% sure that the FedEx man just threw the boxes.
They were they were sitting upright, but they were at weird angles sitting on the driveway.
Laying in the driveway wet because it's been raining all day.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Delaney Pearl Jones says, do Jolly Ranchers.
We did Jolly Ranchers. We did cherry. It's a little more tart than I like.
Big money for the dentist. Yeah, she's a front for the dentist's Iowa X.
I would like to say there's alcohol involved with what I want to do.
Nice.
Cotton candy teenies. I haven't figured out how it's going to work yet.
Oh, look at those teeth. Do you think she does things for bad teeth?
I go to the dentist
She
twice
does
a year.
bad things with her teeth, but
Yeah, like this.
no, don't. She scares me. She makes me nervous because she has no filter. She just doesn't stop.
No filter. Oh man! And when I'm crabby, that filter is amazeballs.
It is. I learned that very early on, but I loved her anyway.
But you still push me when I'm crabby, which I love you.
I still do. Yeah, I just push her buttons sometimes. All right, get out of here.
All right, I'm out.
As much as I like seeing you, touching your butt and stuff like that. Bye.
I'm coming out. Lucy wants me.
Yeah, with a mouthful of cotton candy.
No, she doesn't like cotton candy.
Oh, good. Well, there you go.
Caramellos.
Caramellos.
Don't worry, I fed her a cheeseburger first.
And we wonder why our dog is fat. All right, guys.
Dog, that was the kid.
Bye, baby. I'll see you in a while.
Oh, the dog likes cotton candy. Uh-oh, hold on.
All right, guys. That was our familial interlude for the evening. I know we were making a serious... See ya. Trying to make a serious point in there somewhere, but there's Rainey, and she's going to announce pretty soon something, a little venture she's getting into with her mom. And so there you go. Cotton candy. All right, let's move back into what we were talking about. All right. It's what I want to do with this topic, which we're going to spread out for more than one night, I'm sure, because there's a lot of information here. Oh, and that's what I started to go through, is that I'm going to explain a little bit about Christopaganism, which we've talked about before. And why I've chosen that is because it's 2 things that are really in my life. There are 2 things. I was talking about being drawn to things. I've been drawn to both of these things. And is it theologically within the church, is it God draws me on one side and my sin nature is drawing me to something else? That's the way we were conditioned to believe. You have to uncondition yourself to get to that, to get beyond that. And so I wanted to look at these things. What's Christopaganism? I wanted to look at the theological methodology about this. I want to see all the central tenets. So we're going to talk a little bit. We aren't going to hit these all tonight, obviously. But as we go on, I want to talk about God, about Jesus, about the Holy Spirit, the Bible. I'm looking at my list here. The earth, sin and salvation, evil and good, heaven and hell and the afterlife, astrology, divination, all of these things. I want to look at sacraments and rituals. And these sacraments and rituals, the primary sacraments, the secondary sacraments, non-sacraments. If some of this sounds a little too churchified for some of you, don't worry about it. That's not what we're doing here. We're talking about looking at, in a sense, this is going to be a comparative religions thing, but I want to see where there's some compatibilities. And I want to address the issues of why there are so many people that have wanted to blend these 2 things back together. You can start asking yourself a question. in the Old Testament, see you, Steve Clark. In the Old Testament, you notice that God said that Israel was always sinning because they always wanted to get back as close as they could to the pagan gods of Egypt. And so I want to look at that. All these sacraments, magic, prayer, meditation, energy, and so on. The wheel of the year, the beginning and the end of things. Yule, Christmas, Imbolc, Lent, Ostara, Easter, Beltane, Pentecost, Midsummer, Lammas, Samhain, Mabon, Advent, minor holy days, all of these things. These are all things that are all wrapped up into this, the beginning of the end. And so I want to keep us looking at this because I want us to think about why we think about these things, why these are important to us. And I want to, the central premise of all of this, it's important enough to warrant this talking about it at the very beginning. Because I believe every religion out there, or spirituality, even if you will, has something or someone that has to be seriously addressed. Excuse me. For me, this something or someone is a defining feature of the religion or that spirituality. That something or someone is not something that's central to, or even usually a focus of another faith, but only primarily to a singular faith. To be Buddhist, you have to delve into the teaching of the Buddhist canon. A Jewish person doesn't need to ever even think or consider Buddha or Buddhist canon to be a good Jew. Same with a Christian. A Christian doesn't need to think about Buddha or Buddhist canon to be a good Christian. Vice versa. And they might do so, they might consider these things, but it's not required for their faith. And this someone or something that I'm talking about is not the only facet of a religion, but it's the irreducible central element that a particular faith revolves around. Christianity. What's the particular personality or element of faith that the whole religion revolves around? Christ, of course. So based on that idea, I want to define Christianity and paganism as follows. To be Christian, you must seriously address Jesus and the Bible. To be pagan, you must seriously address the earth and the divine feminine, the goddess. Are those two things inextricably at odds with each other in your way of thinking? Penguins have a formal religion. That's why they wear tuxedos, says Iowa X. Maybe. But they tie really bad bow ties. So, gotta go, says Carly Sagan. Just wanted to pop in and say hello. Have a wonderful evening. Hey, Carly. And see you, Carly. I'm sorry I didn't see you earlier. And just looking at some other old posts there. There we go. And so, to be Christian, the object of your faith is Christ. You have to seriously consider Jesus and the Bible. To be pagan, you have to seriously consider the earth and divine feminine. Are those things incompatible? We have seen things, and I'll just hit this very lightly. This isn't the whole definition of this, but when we talked about the Shekinah glory, the female presence of God in the Old Testament, the term is Hebrew and it's generically feminine, but does that mean it's a goddess? Was there a goddess in the Old Testament? We'll hit on that. And by seriously considering these personalities or these somethings or someones, what I mean is that these are elements of the faith that you have to address, not as things with one answer or one singular approach, although some might try to tell you it does have only one approach or one answer. When you look at religions, each one has this wide umbrella of ways to authentically belong to the community. And so there are devout Christians who see Jesus as the literal Son of God. There are devout Christians who see Jesus as an inspired example of faith, but not superhuman. And then you've got those factions within Christianity that will be at odds with each other. Well, if you don't see Jesus as the literal Son of God, you can't be a Christian. And so my premise is that while people often disagree about what makes a true Christian, in order to be part of a discussion, the discussion on these things, a person has to discuss Jesus and the Bible. And a person wishing to be a Christian scholar who never talked about the Bible or Jesus wouldn't be taken seriously by Christianity, would they? So you have to seriously consider these things. And so the same principles to paganism, Wiccans, Druids, New Age practitioners, eclectic circles, solitary practitioners, and esatru, among others. They can all fall under this heading of pagan, although all of them disagree strongly on many theological points and how the theology all works. However, in all pagan groups that I'm aware of, discussions of the earth and discussions of the divine are important aspects of that faith practice. And so even if the group doesn't have a theistic God figure, such as in like humanistic paganism, the topic of the divine is addressed. So this is the claim I'm kind of making, and I feel the need to point out that my schema for quantifying religion isn't the end-all and the be-all of faith, or of a faith, or a singular faith at all. It is instead, it's a starting point for all of my explorations, all of my wanting to know somethings, hyphenating each word in between. And so when blending religions, traditions, a question that has to be asked is, what is non-negotiable in those religions? What is it that must remain, or else you've lost the essence of that faith? For Christianity, is it the absolute that Jesus is the literal Son of the only one and only literal God? Is that a cornerstone that has to be there? And for paganism, there are issues as well. This is the someone or something of faith that I'm talking about. This is a starting point for all of this discussion about what's Christopaganism. Can it, even the title for tonight's show, can it be blended? Can you take what seemingly are antithetical ideas and say, hey, these things really do blend? Matt Finn says, in Christianity, Christ's teachings. Yes. Corey Blake said the chat disappeared. I'm seeing it, Corey. I hope it's there for everybody. So, Shiva Yeshiva, says Corey. Yep. Let's see. Corey says contest. Yeah. Contest. So, let's move on with this. Christopaganism. It's really a newer, emerging 21st century syncretic religious tradition. And it blends elements from both Christianity and paganism. And those two practices are being brought together to create a life of meaning for people who adhere to these two things being blended together. Now, for me, I'm going to tell you something. There were things that led me to start questioning, as you all know. Maybe not all of you listening tonight know that, but most of my listeners know. And I don't think I'll take the time to go through the things I question and what led me to where I was. But I haven't thrown out the baby with the bathwater in Christianity, as I used to say. But there are also things that led me to be drawn to certain paganistic faith practices. Now, have I sat and prayed to multiple gods? No. Or addressed them? No, I really haven't. The closest I've ever come to anything like that on a personal level is addressing the universe or the originator, God, and saying that there is more than just what we were taught. But syncretic religions grow from the lived experiences of their practitioners. They add and subtract elements of belief. You ever notice that? Down through the ages, Matt Finn said earlier tonight, he's really drawn to Gnosticism. And I've talked about Gnosticism and mysticism here on this show. And have you noticed how Christianity evolved from the time of Christ through the first 2 and 3 centuries after his death and resurrection, according to the faith? The elements of Christianity evolved out of that. And so you see that adding and subtracting elements of belief are something that goes on in any religion, for any practitioner. Have you noticed the way, when I've talked about going way back, thousands and thousands of years back, how we used to see God as the God of the mountain or the sky or the thunder or the stars or the night or the sun. And then God became a God of authority that was embodied in the kings and the leaders. And then God became a more personal God that was caring about his creation. And then a God who you could go to, whose arms are open wide to receive you. We've seen that evolution of God in Judeo-Christian thought. And by the way, I'm going to hit paganism as well and all the different elements of that. I'm coming from a Christian background, and I think many of us have come from that in one form or another, so that's where I'm sticking. But this whole idea of adding and subtracting elements of belief to get to where we are today. Look at just something as simple, maybe even banal to some people. We were in a bookstore today, and I picked up a children's illustrated Bible. I wanted to see how the artist handled the things, the drawings. And you look at, if you're familiar at all with Christianity and evangelical Christianity, look at pictures and illustrations and paintings of who is supposed to be Jesus now compared to 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, maybe 1,000 years ago. Look at how the face of Jesus has changed. Look at how Jesus has become the very, you think of Byzantine art, you don't see a lot of personality in that art. That's maybe just the way it was expressed. But you look at the way Jesus is presented now. He looks like the good-looking guy down the road with the longish hair and the beautiful eyes and the great smile and teeth, and the beard and mustache, and he looks like somebody that's going to love you. So we've evolved. Even the visual icons of the faith have evolved along with our theologies. Now, you aren't going to find a lot of hardcore theologians that give a rat's bahookie about what Jesus looks like in modern paintings. But there is this adding and subtracting, is the point I'm making, of belief, of doctrine, practice that meets the needs of a community. I told you just last week or the week before when we were talking about something, I mentioned my old pastor, John Larson, called him Parson Larson, and because it was funny. And when I was questioning God 15 or more years ago, and I was talking to him about it, he said, Scotty, you might be right, which kind of surprised me. He says, but remember what we do in this ministry, we're here to help people in broken relationships, broken lives. We're here, that's what this ministry, the cornerstone of what we do at this church, this particular church, is to build people who are in broken situations. And he says, so that's what we focus on. And so is that taking the elements for doctrine and practice to meet the needs of the community around you? Yeah, it is. All religions do this to some extent or another, but syncretic religions focus on harmonizing two or more religions to meet these needs. In Christopagan practice, people have found meaning in both paganism and in Christianity. There's two religions that have long histories of being antagonistic toward each other. And so despite the antagonism at the institutional level, for some people, neither faith alone satisfies them. You know, they go to church and they know they can't practice both, or they go to whatever a meeting is of the mind, be it a coven or something else. And they find that there are elements that don't always satisfy because they're excluded from the practice. So despite the antagonism at the institutional level, some people neither faith alone satisfies. Neither one satisfies them. But the combination of both provides a way to make meaning, and it encourages personal growth. This is what I found in the way I practice. And I'm not encouraging you to practice the way I do. Just saying this is pretty widespread these days. And if you're one of those people, then the stuff I'm going to be talking about is really for you. You're going to find meaning in this. I'm going to present my own, sometimes very rambling, sometimes ranting thoughts on the major doctrines of Christianity and paganism. And the ways that I seek to blend both of these that address both my needs to express my experience and my need to have a rational, logical system of belief that works. So the big question I have to ask is am I creating my own religion? Remember, religion is just practice. Am I creating the elements out of whole cloth? Which is what I believe like Moses did when he codified Judaism. He took elements from all over the known world of his time. Egyptian religion, Canaanite religion, Middle Eastern religion, Mesopotamian religion. And he combined all those elements to create out of whole cloth a new religion, a codified Judaism. And we do that for ourselves nowadays. So that begs the big question, is God really there the way we think God is there? Does God really prescribe a certain way that we're supposed to do things? Corey Blake says, I don't even know where you're going with this, Corey, but I'm going to read it. Corey Blake just said, the moment of death itself is the one paradox of pain and crucible, cruxtable, that eludes and hides my sympathies, my connections to the forms and the forces I come into contact with. I get that. Here on earth, he says. Matt Finn says, considering even Christianity has its forms, I'd say, that already exist. Yeah. Matt says, I don't disbelieve, but constantly question my understanding. Boom, there it is. Constantly asking the question. Barbie D says, I believe in only one God, Matt. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I've been right there with you, Barbie. Yeah, the one constant in Christianity is the one God issue. But even God had said, you will not worship the other gods the way you worship me. That's there. It's between the lines, but it's there in the language. So I don't ask anybody who listens to this to believe that this is the only way to synthesize these two ways to look at things, these two great religious traditions. But for anyone seeking a guide to help them harmonize the major differences between these faiths, I hope that some of the stuff we're going to talk about is going to be a basic roadmap for how to go about the process for yourself. And so we're going to have to consider the theological method, how we come to believe something. Matt said earlier, before the chat room was really starting and the show was starting, he said that for him, faith is belief. Believing something. So how we come to believe is as important in many ways as to what we end up believing. How we come to do that is important as what it is. The method I was taught in seminary offers 4 avenues for development of theology. And I want you to think about these. This is what I was taught. Scripture. This is for the development of theology in a belief system. Scripture, reason or scientific inquiry, tradition, and experience. And there's other methods for theological reflection, but this has the advantage of being simple. And it's the one I personally use, although I've adapted it extensively, giving or taking. So one of the adaptations I've made is to see this as the starting point, not the final word on all of this stuff. I believe that good theology should include all 4 of those points: Scripture, or the written word, reason, scientific inquiry, tradition, and experience. Those should all be part of developing a theological perspective and a good theology. But which point is primary changes with the theological perspective of the individual. The more conservative churches that are out there within Christianity use either tradition or Scripture as the starting point. Everything has to be justified through one of these before it can be accepted by the church or even the synagogue. It's an old musical I was in about Jesus, and it was the Pharisees. And one of the songs in it, which was the character I was meant to play, and I didn't because I ended up not taking the role because I moved away, but he sings, "There must be nothing greater than the temple, nothing firmer than God's law." And he's seeking something because he says, there must be something better than what I've been taught. And but then he's trying to convince himself there must be nothing. I was taught there's nothing greater than the temple. There's nothing greater than the law. And he's asking God to show him something different. And this was in the adaptation that this character was making in accepting Jesus as the Messiah in his faith, Judaism. So, more mainline and liberal churches use reason and personal experience in the same way. They edit the Bible, the tradition of the church, to fit all these new cultural and scientific developments. I don't think faith should be on a whim. You shouldn't stick your finger in your mouth and hold it up in the breeze. Wet your finger in the breeze. For Christopagans, syncretism is the core of the faith, meaning that it begins from the perspective of personal experience and then decides from that point what traditions, what belief, what scripture is going to be included. And this is good because I think it allows faith to grow and change, but it has a great potential for it to get bogged down in arguments of experience. Well, I saw Jesus in a potato chip, and type of experience, or I'm being flippant, but you know what I mean? When we rely solely on experience, everybody's experience is going to be different. So you can get a little bogged down in that. So you have to incorporate the other elements. You could be hijacked by charismatic people who can pressure others into deeming that their experiences are more valid than anybody else's experiences. And so there's this tension in all of theology between experiences of something that's far beyond our rational selves and the need to quantify this experience in finite words. Now, I saw that Wes was in here tonight. Wes, I know you've had your personal experiences. And a lot of your personal faith, I am going to say, looks like it's developed on your experiences. So, Wes says, steady as it goes. Forced double-mindedness is my fitful gripe on Jesus. Unstable in all my ways. The stupendous howling. Ain't that the truth, Wesley? So, there's a tension in all theology. And it's greater when experience leads a person to a place where they must sort through and make sense of traditions, which are generally antithetical to one another. Traditions can be so antithetical to one another. And so you see these four things that are necessary things are all things that can get bogged down with each other. So a solid theological method helps with this process by aiding the faithful in sorting through what they believe, why they believe it, how they believe it, and connecting that to the larger tradition that they come from. And so the process is, I think it's pretty simple. For each doctrine, personal experience provides the initial insight. Next, the traditions of the faith are consulted to find where this can connect to the whole parent tradition. Modern science, the reasoning part, the logical part, isn't rejected, but mined for important insights, corrections to the experience and to the tradition. And finally, Scripture is consulted to make sure that a particular doctrine has at least some grounding in biblical interpretation or translation. Interpretation is dangerous, by the way, only because I might interpret a scripture different than you interpret it. Who's right and who's wrong? Maybe neither and both. So interpretation is rough. Translation is what we need to do, but then you got to interpret what you're reading. You got to know context. You got to understand. You got to apply all these other things. I personally experienced God through elemental ritual, which is outside my Christian faith. So by consulting the traditions of Christianity and paganism, I find that there are these branches of Christianity where the earth was honored as a manifestation of God, and that an entire branch of theology, I'm talking about creation spirituality, follows this lead. And paganism, of course, reveres the earth more than almost any other faith. So science offers a variety of ways to understand how I'm connected to the earth, along with millions of reasons to care about the planet and my place in it. There's something I wanted to say as I was in the middle of that, and I'm trying to reconnect with what I was going to hit on. It'll come back to me. It was a random thought, not part of what I'm talking about. So there's lots of Bible studies out about the earth, and there's varying interpretations of how God manifests in and through the material world. Thus, by following the theological method of experience, tradition, reason, and scripture, I'm able to understand how my experience fits into a larger Christian or Christopagan theology. And so, where experiences differ, the rest of the conclusions will differ. Because experience is the starting point for theological reflection. What does it do for you? What changed your heart? What led you to believe something? Was it a prayer, an experience, a dream, a ritual? Oh, and by the way, that's the stray thought I had that I thought I lost. We have Christian ritual too. Look at the things we do look at liturgical churches. What I'm talking about is very formal Catholic Church or High Lutheran, or there's the robes, there's the certain incenses, the quoting of scriptures, the communions, the wafer, the wine, the oil, the anointing, the baptism, the whatever. That all exists. We have our rituals too. So it doesn't mean that either conclusion is objectively wrong if they differ with each other. It's just that they started from different places and they drew from different parts of traditions. So each Christo-pagan participant participates in not one but 2 millennia old traditions of faith. Do you realize that? If you adhere to Christianity and to paganism at the same time, you've got 2 faiths that are thousands of years old. And they're systems for making meaning of the world. And every person experiences life in a way that's utterly unique to them. I have so many friends, and we all experience life in so many different ways. And I found lately, recent years, a lot of friends capitalize on our differences rather than our similarities. You're politically different with me, though, therefore I got to back off from you. How can you possibly believe that if I believe this is right? We don't look for the similarities anymore. So every person experiences life in a way that's utterly unique to them. So having some common understanding of how we describe experience in theological terms, and where in the traditions we draw from, that can help us not only discuss our faith, but to find others of like mind who draw the same historical teachings as we do. Now, I want to tell you, I am not trying to change anybody's way of thinking here tonight, or in the things that we'll be talking about. We're going to talk next about central tenets of faith. We aren't going to do that tonight. We'll do that tomorrow night. But I'm not trying to change the way you think. Barbie D, you said you see God as, you believe in a one God. I'm not trying to change that. But I want us all to look at what we believe and why we believe. It's a theme I had a year and a half ago when we talked about Gnosticism and mysticism. Why do you believe what you say you believe? We're examining that. Matt Finn says, I think where this gets a little dicey is worshiping the creation over the creator. I agree with that. That's one of the tenets, I think, that of some faiths that can be contradictory. And we're going to look at that, by the way, but not tonight. Wesley said, well, I heard Jesus. He said, it is time. I then heard Lucifer and sad and delicious. Should my heart change my mind? Won't let me think it changed, says Wesley. And then we have to, when we have those experiences, Wesley, we really have to figure out where the message is coming from. We might think it's here or there. I'm not telling you I know either way. That's up to you. But we have to understand. Hey, Morgan Snow. It's good to see different points of view. I agree. Matt Finn says, some days I'm convinced of something, and the next day I can question it. Perpetually willing to accept that I'm wrong, although along the way, I have my absolutes. I get that. Corey Blake, you're saying what? I'm not sure if you're questioning something I said or something Matt said or somebody else said over there in the chat room. So yeah, there's I understand he, capitalized, meaning God, tests the hearts. So I am probably doomed, says Wesley. Well, that's something that we were taught. Have any of us seen that and know that for certain? So here's what I want us all to do. Be open-minded enough to question what we believe, even though it might bring us back full circle to where we start. That's okay. Ask the questions and look at some of these things. Corey says, flabbergasted at times. Me too. I am too. So, it's not a comparison test. I agree, Wesley. It's not what we're doing here with this. So, I hope you got a little something out of this tonight. You're getting an idea of where I want to head with this, because I think this is going to be some interesting stuff to look at as we consider faith and we consider what we believe. Like I say, you may come out changed in the way you think. You may come out just the same. You may come out believing what you believed going in stronger than you did when you went in. I'm intrigued by the belief of artificial intelligence and of extraterrestrial matter. I am too, Corey. That's whole new things that are being thrown into the mix these days. Barbie D says, hope is mine. There you go. We have hope in Christianity. We're given hope. But the big question I asked regarding hope, sometimes hope is meaningless. It's given to make us feel better about something that we have no answers for. The Apostle Paul wrote, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It's a big one. Steve Clark says, take care, stay safe and healthy. Steve is signing off. Good to see you, Steve. I'm glad you were here tonight. And everyone else. And so, folks, that's it. That's all I got for tonight. I hope that this was meaningful for you. And I hope it will be in the coming days. Let's look at this some more. Let's approach this with open minds. Let's discuss it. That's all I got to say. So in the meantime, though, you know what? Live long and prosper.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.